All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into something pretty cool,
Definitely.
the Arc Vector electric motorcycle.
Yeah.
And, you've given us a bunch of stuff to go through, articles, specs, comparisons, the whole deal.
Okay.
We're going to figure out what makes this bike so special.
It's
And maybe even, what it says about the future of motorcycles in general.
yeah, I think it's really pushing the limits
Yeah.
when it comes to performance, the technology, the design. It's a real statement.
Yeah, it's not subtle at all.
No.
Like, just looking at the numbers here, 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, can you even picture that?
Yeah.
That's supercar speed on a bike.
Yeah, that's the beauty of electric motors. You get that instant torque.
Right.
Unlike gas engines that have to rev up electric motors, deliver all that power from the get-go, it's that neck-snapping acceleration that just sets electric vehicles apart.
Okay, so imagine you're at a stoplight.
Yeah.
And boom, you just take off. But what happens when you're not, drag racing? What about the range on this thing? One of the articles mentioned a city range of 271 miles.
It's impressive, right?
Yeah, for an electric vehicle, that's pretty good.
It is. It puts the Arc Vector ahead of even some popular gas bikes.
Wow.
And it's not just for city riding either. With that range, you could actually take it on longer trips, especially when you compare it to like the Zero SRS and the Harley-Davidson Livewire.
Okay.
The Vector just seems to go further.
But all that performance and all the tech, it comes with a price tag, right?
It does.
The article said it starts at $120,000.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're really into motorcycles, that's a lot of money. Who is this bike really for?
Well, you have to look at it as a luxury item.
Okay.
It's more in line with a high-end electric car than your typical motorcycle.
Right.
So that price tag reflects that. It's for a very specific type of rider, someone who values that cutting-edge technology, the exclusivity, and that top-of-the-line design.
Okay, so speaking of the tech, let's talk about some of the features that make this bike feel like it's from the future. I mean, the HUD helmet and the haptic jacket, those immediately caught my attention.
They sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, don't they?
Totally.
So with the heads-up display in the helmet, information gets projected right into your field of vision.
Oh, wow.
So you could see your speed, navigation, even warnings, all without ever taking your eyes off the road.
So it's not just a cool gimmick, it actually could be a safety feature too.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about the haptic jacket? What does that even feel like?
So imagine you're riding and you're leaning into a corner a little too hard.
Okay.
The jacket will gently vibrate on that side, warning you to ease back a bit,
Oh, interesting.
even before you consciously realize you're pushing it.
Wow.
Or it could guide you with navigation by vibrating on the left or right to indicate turns.
It's like the bike is actually communicating with you
Right.
on a whole other level, not just visually, but physically.
Exactly. And think about the safety implications. It could even alert you to things you might not see right away, like a car in your blind spot or even changes in the road conditions.
Okay, so we've got performance, futuristic tech, but let's be real, people are going to be drawn to the looks of this thing.
It's a beautiful bike.
The pictures in the articles are incredible.
Yeah.
It has this really sleek, almost aggressive design.
Yeah.
And they're using carbon fiber for the frame, right?
Yeah, the carbon fiber frame is a key part of the Vector's performance and design.
Okay.
It's super strong, but also very lightweight.
Yeah, I was wondering how that would affect the feel of the bike.
Oh, for sure.
Would it be noticeably lighter?
Absolutely.
Would it flex differently compared to a steel frame?
Yes, it's going to be much stiffer and way more responsive.
Interesting.
Carbon fiber doesn't flex as much as steel,
Right.
so you'd get a very precise and direct feel from the bike.
I see. It's all about maximizing that connection between the rider and the machine.
Yeah.
But all this cutting-edge design, all this high-tech wizardry, it kind of begs the question, does it actually make for a better riding experience, or is it more about just being flashy?
Well, that's a great question, and that's what we're going to keep exploring as we go through these articles.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, a motorcycle is meant to be ridden, not just admired.
Exactly. So let's get into the actual riding experience.
Right.
Because one article mentioned this concept of rider interaction
Oh, yeah.
that goes beyond just the handlebars and the throttle.
Yeah.
They're talking about how the haptic jacket and the HUD could actually change the way you feel and connect with the bike.
Yeah, it's blurring the lines between the rider and the machine.
Okay.
It's not just about controlling the bike, it's about a more intuitive and immersive experience.
Okay.
Almost like an extension of your senses.
That sounds pretty mind-blowing, but how does that translate to the real world? Can you give me an example?
So picture this. You're cruising down a winding road, maybe pushing it a little, With the HUD, all your vital info is right there in your field of vision.
Right.
No need to look down at the gauges. You're totally focused on the road.
Okay.
And as you approach a sharp bend, maybe a little too fast, the haptic jacket gives you a gentle pulse on your side,
Oh, wow.
warning you to ease off the throttle, maybe even before you consciously register the danger.
So it's like having a co-pilot built into your gear, almost helping you anticipate the road.
Exactly, enhancing your awareness and control.
That's incredible.
And that's something we'll definitely dive deeper into as we continue.
All right.
Because the arc factor isn't just about pushing the limits of performance and tech, it's about redefining the relationship between rider and machine.
I love that. It's a really thought-provoking concept.
Yeah.
But as much as we're into all these high-tech bells and whistles, there's a part of me that wonders, is it all really necessary?
Right.
Is it truly enhancing the riding experience, or is it just adding complexity and, let's be honest, cost?
That's a valid point, and it's something we should definitely consider. Because for some riders, that pure analog experience is what they love.
Right.
So the question is, does all this tech complement that experience, or does it actually get in the way?
It's almost philosophical, isn't it?
It is.
Like, where's the balance between technology and that more traditional riding experience?
Yeah.
And how do we know if these innovations are truly adding value?
It's a debate that's happening everywhere, not just with motorcycles. That's
true.
As technology keeps advancing, we have to keep asking ourselves,
Uh-uh.
what are we gaining and what are we potentially losing?
Okay, so we've talked about the arc vector pushing boundaries in terms of performance, tech, and design, but there's still a lot more to uncover here.
For sure.
We need to dig deeper into what that high price tag really means, the limited availability,
Yeah.
and the big question, do all those fancy features actually translate to a better riding experience?
Absolutely.
So let's keep going through these articles
Let's do it.
and see what else we can find out, because this deep dive is just getting started.
It's interesting. Who is this arc vector really for?
Yeah,
With that price tag, it's clearly not for everyone.
exactly. I was just thinking that, like, who's going to spend that much on a motorcycle?
Yeah.
Is it just for, like, super rich people, or is there more to it than that? The articles mention limited production, too.
Right.
So it's not like they're making a ton of these.
It's more like a collector's item,
Yeah.
almost like a really high-end sports car. But I think there's a bigger picture here.
Okay.
The arc vector could be a sign of what's to come. Think about when flat-screen TVs first came out.
Yeah.
They were so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
But then the tech got better, they started making more of them,
Right.
prices went down, and now everyone has one.
So are you saying we might actually see some of these features, like the HUD helmet and the haptic jacket,
Yeah.
on more affordable bikes in the future?
I think it's possible, and it might not be those exact features,
Okay.
but the ideas behind them. Like
Okay.
using tech to make riding safer. Maybe we'll see simpler versions of those features that don't cost as much,
Right.
and they might even become standard on motorcycles down the road.
Okay, that's a cool thought. But even if the price does come down, there's still the issue of charging, right?
Yeah.
Filling up a gas tank takes a couple of minutes,
Right.
but charging an electric vehicle can take hours.
Yeah, that's true.
So how does that work for motorcycles, especially for longer rides?
It's a good point, and it's something the whole EV industry is working on.
Yeah.
But with motorcycles, the answer could be different. Maybe it's not about having chargers along highways for those long trips,
Okay.
but more about a really good network of fast chargers in cities.
Okay.
So you can pull up to a cafe, plug in your bike,
Right.
grab a quick coffee while it charges.
That's interesting. Quick and easy charging in cities. It's kind of flipping the script.
Yeah.
But it makes sense for motorcycles because most of the time people are using them for shorter trips anyway.
Exactly, and it could change how we think about motorcycles in cities. They become even more practical for commuting, errands, just getting around town.
Okay, so we've talked about all the tech, the price, the charging situation. But what about the actual riding experience? One article mentioned that the haptic jacket and the HUD make for a more immersive and connected experience.
Yeah.
But is that real, or is it just marketing hype?
I think it's more than just hype. Remember when virtual reality first came out?
Yeah.
It was kind of clunky and expensive.
Right.
But it gave us a glimpse of this whole new way to experience things.
Okay.
I think the arc vector might be doing that for motorcycles.
Okay.
It's not just about speed or distance. It's about feeling more connected to the bike
Right.
and the road.
Can you give me a real-world example of how that actually feels? Like, how does the haptic feedback actually change things?
Okay, imagine you're riding in traffic
Okay.
and someone cuts you off. With the haptic jacket, you might feel a vibration on your arm.
Mm.
It warns you before you even see them in your peripheral vision,
Wow.
almost like a sixth sense, making you more aware of everything around you.
I get it. So it's not just about reacting, it's about anticipating things.
Yeah.
And the HUD probably helps with that too, right?
Really?
Giving you all that info about your speed, the lean angle, all that stuff, so you can make better decisions in the moment.
It's all about enhancing your senses, feeling more in tune with the bike.
Wow.
It might seem subtle, but over time it becomes almost instinctive.
Okay, so that's what they mean by immersive and connected.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides?
Hmm.
Could all this technology actually be a distraction?
That's a great question, and it depends on the rider.
Mm.
Some people just love that simple, traditional motorcycle experience.
Right.
The wind, the feeling of the engine. So the question is, does this tech make that better?
Yeah.
Or does it get in the way?
I see both sides.
Yeah.
I like the idea of being more connected, being more aware of everything,
Mm-hmm.
but I also worry that all the bells and whistles could be too much.
Right.
Like information overload.
I think it's about finding the right balance.
Okay.
And it's different for everyone. Some people will love all the new tech and find it really empowering.
Right.
Others might prefer to keep things simple. It all comes down to personal preference and riding style.
That makes sense.
Mm.
But even if someone's not into the haptic jacket or the HUD, there's a bigger question here.
Yeah.
What does the arc vector tell us about where motorcycles are headed in general?
I think it shows that tech is going to play a bigger and bigger role in riding.
Okay.
Not necessarily replacing that thrill of riding, but adding to it.
Right.
It's about making riding safer, more fun, and yeah, even more connected.
Okay, I'm starting to see the big picture. It's
Right.
not just about this one bike.
Oh.
It's about a possible shift in the whole industry.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what other trends are you seeing in electric motorcycles? The Vector is definitely top of the line, but what about more affordable options? Are there any other bikes pushing the envelope with tech and design?
Oh, absolutely. There's a ton of innovation happening right now on electric motorcycles. And it's not just the big companies like Harley-Davidson and Zero.
Right.
There are a lot of smaller companies and startups trying new things.
Like who? Give me some examples.
Well, there's Damon Motorcycles, a company from Canada.
Okay.
They're developing electric motorcycles with some really cool safety tech.
Okay.
They use radar and cameras to spot dangers and warn the rider, kind of like the driver assist systems in cars.
Wow, that's really innovative. So it's not just about reacting with the haptic feedback.
Right.
It's about preventing accidents before they even happen.
Exactly. And then there's Energica, an Italian company making high-performance electric sport bikes.
Okay.
They're focused on giving you that adrenaline rush you get from a traditional sport bike,
Mm-hmm.
but with the instant torque and quietness of electric.
So they're catering to different kinds of riders.
Yeah.
People who want that speed and performance,
Yeah.
people who want the latest safety tech, or maybe people who are just looking for a more eco-friendly option.
Exactly, and that's what's so exciting about this time for motorcycles. You have all these different choices. It's a mix of the old and the new,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's willing to try new things and push the limits.
I love that. It really feels like a dynamic time to be following motorcycles.
It is.
And it's not just the bikes themselves, it's the whole culture that's developing around them.
Right?
Like one of the articles even mentioned that electric motorcycles are bringing in a whole new generation of riders.
Yeah.
People who might not have been interested in traditional motorcycles before.
That's a really interesting trend
Mm.
because electric motorcycles appeal to a wider range of people for lots of reasons.
Like what?
Well, they're quiet, they're good for the environment, and they offer a totally different riding experience.
Yeah.
It's not just about that loud engine noise. It's about that smooth, silent power and
Huh.
all the cool tech.
Right. I can see why people are into it. It's like electric motorcycles are creating their own subculture within the motorcycle world.
Yeah, and it's a subculture that's more inclusive, more diverse, more focused on new ideas and sustainability.
So even though the arc vector is this kind of niche product, a luxury item,
Mm-hmm.
it also represents something much bigger,
Yeah.
like a glimpse into a future where electric motorcycles aren't just a novelty.
Yeah.
They're a mainstream option for everyone.
And that future might be closer than we think.
Really?
As batteries get better, as there are more places to charge them,
Right?
and as prices become more competitive, we could see a big shift in the next few years.
That would be amazing. A world where electric motorcycles are just as common as gas-powered ones.
Right.
What do you think are the biggest challenges to making that happen?
Well, one of the biggest is what people call range anxiety.
Right.
People are still worried about running out of charge, especially on longer trips.
Yeah, I could see that.
So better batteries and more charging stations are really important.
Okay, those are key things. But
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about how people think about motorcycles.
Right?
A lot of people connect motorcycles with that loud engine, the smell of exhaust, that whole image.
It's a good point. It's about changing the story around motorcycles.
Right.
It's about highlighting what makes electric bikes unique. The quiet power, the smooth acceleration, the high-tech features, the fact that they're better for the environment.
Yeah.
It's about showing that electric motorcycles can be just as exciting and just as cool as gas-powered ones.
But it's not just about making better bikes. It's about changing how people think.
Exactly.
And are we starting to see that happen?
I think we are. As more people try electric motorcycles
Okay.
and see how great they are, those old stereotypes start to disappear.
Okay, so even though there are challenges, there's also reason to be optimistic.
Definitely.
Like the electric motorcycle revolution is picking up speed,
Yeah.
and it's really exciting to think about what could happen.
We're at the beginning of a big change in the motorcycle world,
Wow.
and it could change how we think about transportation, about taking care of the planet, and even about personal freedom.
Okay, we've covered a lot in this deep dive. We started with the arc vector, talking about all its crazy features, how it could change how we ride,
Yeah.
and then zoomed out to look at the bigger picture of electric motorcycles.
It's been a great discussion.
But there's one question we need to come back to.
Okay.
Is all this technology really making riding better, or is it just adding complexity and cost?
That's the question every rider has to answer for themselves, and there's no easy answer
Right.
because technology is just a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool, it can be used in good ways or bad ways.
So it's not about the tech itself. It's about how it's used
Exactly.
and how it fits into the riding experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to think that the arc vector, with all its fancy stuff, is really just the beginning.
I agree.
It shows us what's possible, it gets people talking, and it challenges the whole industry to use technology to make riding better in a real way.
I think that's a great way to put it. The arc vector makes us think.
Yeah.
It makes us ask, what do we want the future of motorcycles to be?
Yeah.
And how do we want tech to shape that future?
It's a question worth thinking about
Definitely.
because the answers could change a lot of things, not just for motorcycles, but for how we think about transportation, sustainability, even personal freedom. So we've talked a lot about this arc vector. It's like this super high-end bike pushing the limits of what's possible with electric motorcycles.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But it's expensive, it's exclusive.
Right.
Where does that leave everyone else? Is any of this tech gonna, trickle down to bikes that normal people can afford?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you look back in time, things that start out as super expensive and cutting edge often end up becoming more affordable as time goes on. Like, think about GPS navigation.
Okay. Yeah.
It used to be this pricey, specialized thing.
Right.
But now, pretty much everyone has it on their phone.
Okay, so you're saying there's hope for people like me who aren't millionaires but still want a little piece of the future.
Absolutely.
So maybe we won't be wearing a $120,000 haptic jacket anytime soon.
Probably not.
But could we see some version of that tech on a more, regular bike in a few years?
I think it's totally possible. As battery technology keeps getting better, the cost of those electric powertrains goes down.
Okay.
And as they start making more of them, those economies of scale kick in and prices drop even more. It's not crazy to think we'll see simpler, more affordable versions of some of the Vector's features showing up on more affordable motorcycles.
That's good to hear. But I keep thinking about this charging issue.
Yeah.
Even if electric motorcycles get cheaper, isn't the lack of charging stations still a big problem?
It is a challenge, but maybe we need to think differently about charging.
Okay.
Especially for motorcycles. Long trips might still be better for gas-powered bikes for now, but for getting around cities and shorter rides, the solution could be having lots of fast chargers all over the city.
Okay.
So picture this. You're out running errands, you park your bike, you plug it in at a charger outside a store,
Right.
and by the time you're done shopping, your battery's full.
Okay, I can see that. So it's not about replacing gas stations.
Right.
It's about having a charging system that fits how people actually use motorcycles in cities.
Exactly. No more range anxiety.
Yeah.
Just easy top-ups throughout the day.
What really caught my attention about the arc vector,
Yeah.
it wasn't just the tech itself, it was the whole idea behind it.
The philosophy.
Yeah, using technology to make the riding experience better, to help you feel more connected to the bike and the road.
That's a really key point. The vector reminds us that technology isn't just about going faster or being more efficient.
Right.
It can be about having a deeper connection to the real world, even on a motorcycle.
So how do you see that idea evolving in the future? I mean, aside from the haptic jackets and the HUD helmets,
Yeah.
what other ways could tech make riding better?
Well, imagine your motorcycle could talk to other cars on the road,
Okay.
warning you about dangers before they even happen.
Interesting.
Or your gear could keep track of your heart rate and stuff and let you know if you're getting tired or dehydrated.
Wow, the possibilities are huge.
Yeah, when you start thinking about how tech can enhance our senses and keep us safe.
But like with any new technology, there could be downsides.
Right.
Could all this connectivity lead to, like, information overload?
It's definitely something to be careful about as this tech develops.
Right.
The goal shouldn't be to make riders rely totally on technology,
Mm.
but to use it as a way to make them better riders,
Right.
more aware, and just have a better experience overall.
So it's about the right mix of human skill and technology working together.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's up to each rider
Hmm.
to decide how much tech they want in their riding experience.
Some people will love all the new gadgets,
Oh, yeah.
while others will want to keep things simple.
Yeah, there's no one right way to do it. It's about what works for you.
Well, I think we've all learned a lot in this deep dive.
It's been fascinating.
We started with the Arc Vector, this incredible bike from the future, and ended up exploring the big changes happening in the motorcycle world.
It's a really exciting time.
It seems like the future of motorcycling is wide open with a lot of cool things on the horizon.
And who knows what kind of amazing motorcycles we'll be talking about a few years from now.
Yeah,
But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a fun ride.
absolutely.
I
So
know.
keep your eyes on the road and keep an open mind. The future of motorcycling's here, and it's going to be awesome.